My life in the last year since I've talked to you, I've been very involved in gathering the genealogical records for the Armenian people throughout the world, and miracles keep happening with that. I'm still working at BYU in charge of the Advisement Center for College of Biology and Agriculture, and I teach spiritual living and Relief Society. I'm a classical music addict, love flowers, and I guess that's about it. Testimony has grown 1,000-fold, I guess, in these years, like all of us. So grateful for the gospel and trying to get to know the Lord. So I know I have a long way to go. I hope to see you in the not too distant future, hopefully in August. And I loved hearing about all your family. I can't believe you've got a huge, huge, huge quiver full. Great posterity, and they're all so good looking. I hope your daughter gets better and better, and I'll hope to see you in the summer. Bye. Oh, this is his Beatitude Schnurk-Kalustian. He's really, in all sincerity, the man who is responsible for really opening the world to the Armenians, to our work. And when I met him in Istanbul, is really a miracle. I almost didn't, and I was waking up from in the morning, one morning, and I just had this impression, go to meet the patriarch. And so I did. He said, where are you? He says, I'm on an island. He told me how to get there, and I took the ferry boat, and we sat down, and I knew him. I'd always known him. And when I looked at him, I thought, I love this man. He became my very dearest friend, the most influential person at that time for many years, and he wrote me letters of recommendation all over the world. And because of him, many, many archives were opened. He died. He was in Armenia 2 years ago. He was in the palace, and he was walking down, Ichmiadzin. He was walking down the stairs, and he slipped and he bumped his head, and he died. And 2 months ago, Nephi Kazarian went through. We sent his name on the new Temple Ready program. Zap, took the disc in, and then it's interesting, when I used to go to he'd always want me to go to, when he celebrated the Mass, he'd like me to sit over there, it was like a king, and I yes sir. And so he'd always look over at me, and so during the endowment, I just glanced over at him, just like, it's my turn now. So he's wonderful, and I'm sure we had a temple night for Istanbul Records. It was just a week and a half ago, and I was sure he was there, absolutely sure. And let's see, I'll show you. I have a daughter too. That's my husband. I have a daughter. That's Marilyn's daughter, Becky Perry. Here she is. You'll have to see her. This beautiful girl. I'll show you. Here's Becky. This is before Becky went on her mission. Here's Marilyn. Isn't that darling? Oh. And there's Carmel. He's the Archbishop of Africa for the Armenian Apostolic Church, and he's been, next to Patriarch Schnurk, the most helpful person. He came here to Provo last spring. We hosted him. He stayed in Nephi Kazarian's home, and we did everything. We took him horseback riding. We had a luncheon with Elder Faust and John Husband. John Husband said how he loved the Armenian people, and so forth. He's a prince. He's really a wonderful man.
And he's read the Book of Mormon
and
knows it.
Yes, and he says the difference between your church and my church is you have the Holy Ghost and we don't, he said. Yes, but this is, what happened, when I was in Syria in 1988, our project got stopped, and I was almost put in prison, and I went back and forth to Damascus from Aleppo, couldn't get the project going, and finally we went home. The photographer and I went home. It's a long, difficult story. There was film in the camera, and there were about 30,000 names that are being extracted. But this professor from Johns Hopkins, who's been doing epidemiological research on our collection of microfilms, was going to the Middle East about three months ago, and he called me. He said, "Ollie, what can I do for you? I'm going to the Middle East." I said, "Where are you going?" So I said, "Well, when you go to Lebanon, talk to His Holiness, like the Pope in Antelius, Beirut, and tell him we want to get the Syrian project going again." And then he says, "Well, what else?" I said, "Well, go to Cairo, Egypt, and talk to Archbishop Chinchinyan." That's this man's name. He said, "Go to him and tell him about Syria. We want to get it going." So he went to, Harut went to Beirut, and the Catholicos says, "You know, the person who stopped the project in Syria is this bishop in Damascus." And he stonewalled. He says, "This is what you have to do." And he says he's against the project. And I had so much trouble. I talked to this bishop, but he's very suspicious and so forth. And so this is just like maybe 2.5 months ago. And so Harut flew to Cairo, and he talked to Archbishop Chinchinyan. Archbishop Chinchinyan said, "You know, the person who stopped your project was the bishop in Damascus." And so he said, "This is what you should do." So then, imagine this. Harut flew to Amsterdam and picked up a KL. He was in Cairo. He picked up a KLM flight going to Baltimore, back to Johns Hopkins University. He was sitting on the plane, and he turned around, and he heard this foreign-speaking English voice behind him. And so he heard the word Armenian. So he turned around, and he said to the guy, "Are you Armenian?" And he says, "Yes, I am." Guess who it was?
The bishop.
The bishop.
The bishop that stopped the project.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he was going
It's
to
a true
Baltimore
Latter-day miracle. I mean, the bishop was living in Athens by now. He's recently now living in Athens. Can you imagine? He was sitting right in back of him, not in another part of the plane. And so I said, "Well, what did you do?" He says, "I went and sat next to him, and I gave him a piece of my mind for what he'd done to you." And he says, "I turned him." He says, "Those are the nicest people in Salt Lake. I went to the church headquarters. I went to the vault. I saw everything, and we'd never have done our research." He says he completely turned him around. He wants to go to Salt Lake City. So that is the miracle. So that's
So has the filming started again?
No, I'm working on it now. No, I have. I'm working on about 6 countries right now. But let me see. I'll show you just one other thing with Archbishop Chinchinyan. Let's see. We took him horseback riding. Well, I guess this is probably just as you can see his personality.
We should show Marilyn the picture of Laurie, because her son will meet her. Oh, Montreal. I will.
Oh, there's
Your son is
there he is.
He's going to go to Montreal?
To Montreal. Anyway, I think Marilyn's seeing these. They're kind of.
He's handsome.
He's charming.
Now, are you
here he is.
masculine? And
There
he
he is.
sings. Now, you're talking
We
about...
bought this suit at Savers. I took him to
Now,
Savers.
tell me again who he is.
I did. And he says, "Oh, it's too light." And I said, "No, please." I begged him. And he says, "Oh, Audrey, I look beautiful." Zavin Chinchinyan. Oh, he's a lovely
She
man.
had him go to Will and Will for her and her children and all of you. We've had such an enjoyable time tonight. John Grover just walked in and said hello to everyone and is interested in what's going on and is happy to see us getting together. I'll just tell you really briefly about my family. I have a son, David, who lives in Provo with his 4 children, and he is getting ready to be married a second time in the temple engagement to a lovely girl he made at a singles gathering, and she's a miracle for us. My second son, Rob, lives in California, is unmarried and living a very interesting lifestyle all his own, but he is in touch with us, and we love him very much and hope things will go well for him. I have a son, John, who is married and has 2 little boys and lives in San Jose. And my daughter Becky is a senior at BYU, majoring in humanities and teaches Japanese at the MTC. She's very happy in everything that she's doing. She's a real joy to us. I am well and enjoying my work at Provo City. And I see Audie now and then, and it's wonderful to keep in touch with these very special forever friends and to recall times when we were very young and just learning and maybe doing some silly things, and maybe we still do. Anyway, we've learned a few things through the years, and it's interesting that no one is spared the experiences of life that they need to grow and learn to love and have compassion for others. I think that's one of the greatest things we learn in this life. And we'll be thinking of you with all of your challenges there, and hope to see you in May when you come, or in August.
Remember me, but I remember you from many, many years ago. And the thing that I remember most was some of the long, wonderful spiritual discussions that we used to have. And I especially remember the spirit when we'd all get together as family, prayer, and the beautiful prayers that you would relate in behalf of all of us. And those things stay with you forever. And I guess it's like friends are forever and friends are eternal. And the friendships that we made at BYU, even though we may not see each other for years and years, when we do get together, and all of us are getting together tonight, of course, makes us feel like it was just yesterday that we were together. And when we relate the experiences that we have, I think how blessed this particular group of friends are, because each one of us have grown in the gospel and in our love of the Lord. And our families and the things that we want to accomplish are really eternal values. And so I just think of you often and think of many of the things that you've shared with us throughout the years. And just briefly about some of our life and what's been happening to us. I'm still in the military, and I'm still a state missionary, which I was when I was in college. I guess if you don't do it right the first time, they keep calling you so that you'll do it right the second time, and I'm now on the 7th time, so maybe I'll do it right this time. I don't know. Seriously, I do love missionary work, and I think that I must have been a missionary in the pre-existence, because I would rather do that than anything else in the whole world. This past year ago, I was called for Desert Storm with my husband, and we served in the United States for 4 months. And it was then, at that time, that I realized how important the winding up scenes are, and how important it is for each one of us to be ready when that time comes. We have 1 daughter and 2 foster Navajo Indian girls, and our daughter, Kathleen, just returned from a mission from Japan, Tokyo North Mission. And the excitement and the joy that we have of her returning from the mission is just, you can't even describe it. And I'm sure that since we weren't blessed with sons, the Lord felt like that it was really a great blessing for us to have a daughter that went on a mission. And for this, I'll always be grateful. We would just like to say that we hope we can all get together soon, that we can give each other a big hug, and we hope to see you if you come back in the spring and then in the summer. Hopefully we can all see you. We talk about you all the time, and we've never forgotten you. And I especially will never forget the influence and the impact that you've had as you've told us many spiritual things throughout our years. And good luck to you, and may the Lord bless you in all that you do. And hope to see you really soon.
See how we found up here.
This reminds me of relief study. We take all our relief study lessons.
And then take
them
the
to
primary.
No, well, if they want
Water
them.
isn't part of the
But
church.
the ones, yeah, we take them, they can take them if they want, but the purpose is to take them to the ones that are ill or haven't been able to.
Well, we used up